is where we bring coaches to you twice a month, and we bring different topics. Today, I am blessed to have two amazing people with me. GM is what can I tell you? He's just an amazing person. I'll tell you a little bit more about him in a sec. But I also want to talk about my co-host today, which is Rick. Rick is another amazing person. And guys, just a quick hi to everybody, and then we'll get started.
Hello, everybody.
What's up? Thanks for having me, you guys. It's amazing.
Cool. Okay. So, let me introduce James Ryerson. He's going to discuss Let's Go Win at Leadership, but there's so many different topics that he can discuss, but we're going to work with leadership today. He's an author, he's a mindset coach, and he's also a host of Let's Go Win podcast. Think about it. Let's go win, right? He's been building companies and he's been building companies for a very long time, right? He leads sales teams for over 20 years. And I think it's longer now, right, Jim?
Yeah, we're pushing a couple. We're getting into the third decade.
Oh, nice.
Good for you.
Excellent. Yeah, so he's the co-founder and CEO of Let's Go Win, whose mission is to increase leadership, enhance culture, and help teams achieve peak performance. Helping a whole team level up to reach peak performance, that's a task all by itself. And I know that, Jim, you've helped a lot of people with what you're doing, your leadership coaching and everything else. You've focused your whole career enriching the lives of other people, and you continue to educate yourself. And that's what makes you amazing, because of that little thing of continually educating yourself, leveling up, right? So your ability to impact other people, to bring your contribution, to bring everything that you do to your team and to your success of your teams and everybody that you coach, right? GM, would you mind just sharing with us what leadership is for you and the topic that you want to talk to us about today? Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things I always say is I believe everything rises and falls based on our leadership. And so it's so important as a leader to know what do you stand for? And one of the first things I get to is that authentic leadership for everyone, because I'll give you a story. This is my fourth company, Let's Go Win, that I've had a chance to build. And I guess I can speak on it so well because of all the mistakes I've made along the way, right? The first company and a half, I thought I had to sound a certain way. I thought I had to look a certain way. And you notice I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. But when I started, I thought I had to be in a 3-piece suit, buttoned up, and I had to look a certain way. And look, I don't care if you choose to wear a suit or you don't. That's not the point. The point is when I'm truly myself and I'm authentic, when I am just giving my very best, that is a far better recipe for success than it is if I think I have to look or sound a certain way, because that authenticity, when it doesn't come through, you can grow. I've done it through sheer sweat, tears, grinding. And that was my experience for the first company and a half, and the first company, and then the second company, the first part of it. And we grew, but here's the thing. I almost lost my marriage in that growth, right? I was not the most happy guy coming home from work as I was being a leader. I would win at any cost. It didn't matter what relationships were affected. So I made all of those mistakes to learn that there's a better way. And as I found that better way, that authentic way of just being me, what do you know? We actually grew exponentially more, and it wasn't so much darn energy, because I look at the first company and a half as I had masks on. And I say in the first book, look, masks are meant for parties. They are not for every day. These masks that we all wear, and we learn it real early on that we want to sound a certain way, we need to fit in. and it's all a little bit of, it's a farce. The genuine light, the you that is in here, that's what the world wants to see. And those are the people you want to attract. The people you attract will want to follow you and be a part of whatever you're building if it's truly your authentic self. So I guess I'll start there, Sifu, and I'll say that's the beginning of my philosophy on leadership. I'm passionate about it. And like I said, I've made as many mistakes as I have, some winning ways of doing it, but it's been an amazing journey, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But I do hope to help others not skin their knees maybe as much as I did along the way. I can keep talking if
I apologize. I couldn't get to my mic.
You're all right, brother.
So I love the fact that you were talking about wearing a mask, right? Because even superheroes have to take that off, right? They have to take the cape off for a minute, take the mask off. And when we think about winning, it's about, maybe it's not a mask, but different hats, right? Because at one moment you have to put on that hat and you have to be the dad, right? And then another time you have to be the husband. And you said, because you were focused on one thing, you almost lost your family, right? So I appreciate you talking about that, because that's important. A lot of people, they think that, yes, I have to win, but at what cost? Who's going to pay the price at my winning, right? So would you mind talking a little bit about that? I think that's a huge aspect that a lot of people don't realize, how truly important it is to have that family, life, social, and business equation into that we have to deal with, right?
Yeah,
I love more insight on that.
Yeah, the truth is you can wear all these various hats, and I won't call them labels because I truly believe labels are for boxes, right? I am a dad, I am a husband, I am a business owner, I am a son. I mean, we have a lot of labels and titles, but we're so much more than that. But what I will say to your question, if you're out of alignment at work, at home, at whatever hat you're wearing, you can't show up as the best possible leader in that in your job. So let's say, the best example I can give, if your health, let's say, and I work with business leaders all the time, and man, their bank accounts are going up, and I'm like, congratulations, that's fantastic. How are you doing? How's your health? Well, it's not good. And the problem is the shelf life is not long. They also don't get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And here's the other thing you'll discover. The relationship that they have at home, it suffers. The relationship they have with their kids or family, it suffers. And it doesn't have to be that way. The truth is, if you really check in, and there's the wheel of life, and this goes back to Buddhism thousands and thousands of years ago, they've been talking about it. Checking in to make sure that your health is in order, that your finances are in order, that your family and your intimate relationships are in order, your career is in order, and you have the 7 areas of your life. Just checking in and making sure that you're not completely not taking care of one, and being so focused and winning, quote unquote, at the cost of everything else. So when you can find that balance, and I think it's really self-awareness is what people lack, is knowing that the truth is the most important thing you need in leadership is to take care of yourself first. And I start with, on a daily basis, I have a very lengthy morning routine, and I won't bore you with it, and I don't expect anyone else to follow as much as I do. That's my routine. But what I do know is every human being needs to take care of 3 things every single day: their mind, their body, and their soul. If you do those, and I don't care if it's for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour a day, I don't care the amount of time, but just checking in on those 3 things as a human being, then if you are able to fulfill and fill those buckets, now you're leading yourself. Now you can show up as your authentic self, be able to lead others as well. But if you don't, good luck, and the people will see it clear as day. Well, why would I want to follow JM? He is literally miserable in his marriage. They don't want to follow that leader. Why do I want to follow JM? He is literally, overweight, has all these health challenges, let's say whatever the challenge is. Why would they want to follow that? I don't want that. What they want to see is a holistic human being that is truly taken care of, again, the mind, body, soul, because now you are functioning at your highest frequency. That's someone that people will follow. So I hope that answers your question, Sifu, but it's definitely the most basic thing I coach on is every single day, take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. And I can give you examples if that helps, but it's just a basic idea to do on a daily basis before you ever take care of your family, before you ever take care of your work, before you ever check your cell phone, which is such a prevalent thing in our world today. Take care of you first.
No, I appreciate that. So tell me a little bit about how important it is. Obviously all three are extremely, to me as well. And I have a morning routine, an evening routine. I even have a midday routine, right? So one of the things that creating routines, creating habits that are positive is going to make a huge difference in the way we live our lives. And so let's talk about something that truly controls everything we do. And that's, you talked about it, it's your mind, right? Because your mind can control how you act, both with your words, your body, and your intentions, right? So let's talk about what the difference is with a positive mindset, a negative mindset, and even a growth mindset. Because so many people, they think they're growing, but they're diminishing something else. So for example, in order to say yes to one thing, you sometimes have to say no to other things, right? But then what no's are important and what yeses are important. So would you mind talking about what really controls us all is our mind, right?
Yeah, 100%. And when we talk about winning, I do believe it is a mindset. So it's not about wins versus losses. I don't believe in that. Winning there's wins and there's learning. Okay. I don't believe in losses. If you didn't learn something, then sure, it could be considered a loss, but it 100% is a mindset of wanting to show up as the best version of you. Okay. Now, what you just said, I love this subject and I hope everyone hears this really loud and clear. I had somebody come to me the other day and said, I'm just stressed out. I'm overworked. And I mean, you can see it. This 40-year-old man, which is to me not that old, he looked 60. And I was like, what is going on with you? You're an active guy. And he says, I can't say no. And I said, interesting. So let's talk about that. And so he's a cardiologist. His job is to take care of everyone, to make sure their hearts are, functioning. And he goes, but I just can't say no. And I said, let me tell you something, guy. I won't say his name, but guy, you say no every time you say yes. Every time that you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. That is a fact. So if you say yes, yes, yes to everyone, now you're saying no to your kids, spending time with them, perhaps saying no to taking care of your health, saying no to taking care of your spirituality. Every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else, just so we're clear. And it is 100% a choice. You get to choose every single day how you show up. I don't care what your genetics were. I don't care what your parents were. Those are just your experience. That may be where you came from, but you get to make the choice every single day, whether you choose to be happy or not. And once you can wrap your head around that, wait a minute, it's in my full control. No one else has the power to allow me to be happy or to be sad. Only I get that choice. No one has the power, whether I'm healthy or not. I get to choose. And you can go through every stage of your life and just know it's a choice. Now, the beautiful thing about that, and if you ever want to go through, there's a thing that I do with all my clients. Take one sheet of paper, okay? take your pen down the line. On the one side, write victim. On the other side, write responsible. Now, I want you to write down all the things that you feel under a victim, all the emotions that you feel when you're a victim, and it'll come very clear. I feel weak. I feel taken advantage of. And it's going to be a really substantial negative things with a couple positives, right? There will be some sympathy and empathy towards you. Then on responsibility, how do you feel? I feel strong. I feel empowered. I feel in control, all these things. Now there's a couple negatives. You could feel overwhelmed, but overwhelming, when you look at it, are you being a victim or are you taking responsibility? And when you choose to take responsibility in every facet of your life, it is the most freeing thing that you can do for yourself. So it's a choice. You get to choose to be responsible or you get to choose to be a victim, but it is your choice, just so we're clear.
Man, that is powerful. You know, for anybody who's listening to us now and who doesn't realize that they do have a choice. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or whatever it is nowadays, you still have a choice. You have a choice to do whatever it is. You chose to wake up in the morning, right? Or someone woke you up. Maybe it was your alarm. But you know, you still set that up. You chose to put an alarm on, right? I by the way, I put an alarm, but I'm awake before my alarm goes off. Why? Because mentally, I know I have things I want to do with my life. When we are given this beautiful life that we have, and even when there is turmoil, when there's different things that happen to us, we can have a pity party, right? And we could do that. That's a choice. Or we can choose to say, man, I'm not happy with what's happening, but what can I do differently to change it? Talk to me about that choice. And you told, I love the line down the middle, and I love that. But how does someone, Jim, how does someone who is going through probably what they believe to be the hardest thing in their life, how do they overcome something like that? What steps can they start to take today?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a story, and I'll be completely vulnerable with you because, as I told you, I believe that leadership is being your authentic self and being vulnerable. One of the most important people in my life, my dad, he killed himself about 6 weeks ago, completely out of nowhere, you guys.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
some
that.
love, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. The most selfless, kind, strongest human being I've ever met in my entire life. Now, I'm biased, he's my dad, but the point of me telling you that is everything that I coach on really has been tested. Really has been tested to say, is it just when things are going good, or okay, I had a flat tire, or my girlfriend, broke up with me. Okay, I can get through it by journaling and meditating, right? Okay, great. I had to stack up everything that I've coached on and continue to do every single day. Now, it is still a choice. As awful as it is a choice for me to be angry and upset and mad at this man, right? For what he did, this action, or it's a choice to forgive, which is a big one, and it's taking time. I'm not saying I'm there, but I'm very close to forgive. It's a choice that I get to make. I can choose to be mad. I can choose to play the victim. I can choose to say it's not fair. But what is that going to do? That is going to completely shift and change the way I show up in the world. I cannot change the event. The event has taken place. I get to choose how I show up. I get to choose how I go through this process. So for me, some things, you ask for some tangible things that you can do. The first thing is to quiet your mind. And I know anybody that's listening, you've heard this with meditation. And again, it's something that I do practice, but it didn't necessarily make sense to me until I truly said, okay, I need to be aware of what's happening. because this dialogue in our brain that's just going a million miles an hour, look, it's all inside. So one of my first processes just to write. I talked about a piece of paper and a pen. The best form of therapy, it's free to everyone, other than it costs a couple of cents for a pen and whatever it costs for paper. That paper has never said, JM, you're crazy. JM, you're brilliant. It hasn't said a thing back to me other than just absorb the ink into it. Now, what that does is it allows you to take these thoughts and all these things that we've created in our mind and put it on paper, purge, if you will. Now, what that allows is then some clarity. It quiets you down a little bit. So the next time a conversation comes up that you create in your head about something in the future, or maybe something that's happened, you can't change that, but you can quiet it and just be observant of what's happening. That has allowed me to have some real clarity around this subject, and to be able to then take that vile, evil anger and release it, and to say, okay, it's a choice to forgive or to not. Why would I hang on to that dark, that just thing, that poison that'll chew me up inside? I need to be able to release that. So through writing, through meditation, and then quieting my mind, I've been able to do that. So hopefully that helps. I share that because it also helps me to talk about it. If I keep it inside, it's very, very challenging, and I can turn myself inside out. So it's awful, but some amazing things are going to come from it, because I can teach others through this tragic act what it's done for me, and the fact that these tools do stack up in the worst of times.
Wow. You know, I have no words to say, and sending you so much love for you to be able to share that, because that right there is a healing process for you to be able to speak about it. You know, you're talking, you just met Rick, and he kind of knows your story, and some people who are listening, and that's huge. And, you know, one of the things that you said is that, how do you forgive someone, right? But here's the thing that I my takeaway is that we cannot control anyone. No one, even a dictator, cannot control another person. They can't control body functions. They can't control what they're thinking. They can try, they can brainwash. And you get people who are going to be, you know, like just like drones or whatever. But in reality, you can only control one person. Jim, who is that?
You can only control you, and how anybody else feels or thinks about you is none of your business. Not an easy lesson, but it's true.
So listen, I'm just sending lots of prayers to you and your family.
Thank you, brother.
You guys, you're going through a lot. And you know, you have a friend in me anytime. If you need anything, man, just reach out anytime. I'll be there. I promise. You know me. You know, and I appreciate you, you know, coming on today, being so super honest. And you know, here's the difference between you and a lot of people out there in the world. You walk the talk. You're telling people you need to level up, you need to do these things. And then you even said earlier how important it was for you to take all the lessons you've taught other people and then use them on yourself. And so obviously, if you didn't tell us about your dad, we wouldn't have known, right? Because it shows you are carrying yourself really well. And, you know, we don't see inside of a person. So sometimes, and a lot of people, this is where it gets me, a lot of people judge someone else. Meanwhile, they don't know what that person's been through. I mean, they don't know what they were 10 minutes before they saw them, right? So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you for coming on, sharing with us, and being such a big proponent of taking care of oneself. So thank you.
Brother, it's my pleasure. And again, I know my time is probably up, but I just
No, it's not. It never is.
Okay. Just said something that, again, I didn't always act this way as a leader, but what you said is so profound. I hope everyone heard that. You don't know. You'll never be able to know what someone's experience is. And so often as leaders, we think our job is to correct and criticize and guide. Guiding is correct, but it's not until you A, seek understanding, B, get permission, and to really ask some questions. In a work atmosphere, I always look at it this way. No one came to work and said, I want to be terrible at my job. I've never seen it. I've never, even the most unhappy employee, I've never seen them come in and be like, I want to suck today. I'm going to be terrible. The fact is they want to perform, they want to fulfill, and they want to feel rewarded, and that their job means something, that what they do means something. So as a leader, our job is to understand, seek to understand first. And so often, to your point, they're not performing because maybe they're taking care of a sick child at home, or a mom, or maybe their health is not ideal. So before you start to say, well, you didn't do blah, 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 first you want to ask some questions, seek to understand. Second, look in the mirror and say, did I set proper expectations and provide adequate support? Then maybe after you've established all that, then you can say, here's something I've seen, and then the guidance can come into play. But brother, when you said that, I had to bring that up in leadership because, again, I was the guy that was hard charging. You didn't get your job done, I would just tear it apart. And I realized how awful that was and how unhelpful that was versus asking some questions, understanding, and then being able to provide whatever support or guidance that I had to them, which, by the way, then they actually received it.
Hey, JM, I'm just curious. You talked about the three things, your mind, body, and soul. How do you work on your soul?
Yeah, for me, it is meditation, Rick. It's a great question. It's always been meditation for me personally. Some people it's reading the Bible. Some people it's taking a hike in the mountains. It's swimming in the ocean. A lot of times you will hear people getting back to nature in this world that's so concrete and not one in nature. But for me, it's meditation is my primary form of taking care of the soul.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, definitely. When we think about all the things that we have to think about when we are approaching someone as a leader, and I like what you said is that, like, step back for a minute and ask the questions. Because guess what? When you ask those questions, it shows two things, right? That you care about what's going on, and that the task is not as important as they are. So truly, not only do you care about their life, but guess what? As a leader, who's going to perform better for you than the person that knows that you care, right? So to me, that's true leadership. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And, anytime, we're here, we're having a discussion, we're talking about leadership. And I'm going to introduce you to a guy who's just amazing right now. Rick Hughes, and then there's like 500 things behind his name, right? I can't even get into it, but he can definitely tell you. He's an accomplished senior executive with impressive HR management skills and experience in domestic and industrial dealings, right, with companies and so forth. When you think about the benefits and compensation, there's strategic planning that goes into effect for executives, core staffing, operational, administrative initiatives. My God, there is so much, especially in today's age, with all the different HR issues that can easily arise. Who do you want in your corner? You want a professional. You want somebody who's not only, like Rick is beyond certified. And here's the thing, he keeps recertifying himself because things change. And who do you want in your corner? Somebody who is in the know? Or let me ask you, do you want a pilot who who piloted, 10 months ago, or one that just came off, 3 days ago and did, he has experience in flying. So Rick is that kind of person. He's the one that will pilot your HR department. He is hired by some of the best companies in the world to help them with that, because there's so many different facets that go into HR. I mean, if you're thinking about HR, Rick is your man. So Rick Hughes, or Richard Hughes, I know he likes to be called Rick, but his official name is Richard Hughes, and 500 titles after. He's also a man, and I know that the reason that he asked you, JM, is because about your mindset, and also about your spiritual, because he's a very spiritual man. He reads the Bible and he can tell you all about it. But the whole thing is that he understands the Bible. Wow. And sometimes he'll send me stuff and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And it's when we have that connection with someone, right? When they know where you're going, where the mindset is, and where the leadership is. So Rick, he's going to talk about deeds today. And I one of the things that's so important is, and he started, there's 25 deeds. I think he's only going to touch upon a few, because last time he talked about 5 of them. But man, just when you think about a deed, think about what's the purpose behind it. And Rick, would you mind just sharing with us, my friend?
Not at all. I appreciate that awesome introduction there, Raphael.
You got it.
As I had said before, I was a guest a couple of weeks ago on an appearance of Heroes Rising, and now he's asked me to fill in because our normal co-host was absent. And when you talk about someone who's very spiritual, it is our missing co-host today. He has actually been kind of my mentor, both from a business standpoint, but also from a spiritual standpoint. So it's been very exciting to get into and dig into the Bible as much as I had. That's why I asked the question there, JM, about what you do for your soul. So I am curious about that. But one of the things that JM has kind of led me down a different path of some of the do's or some of the deeds that I wanted to talk about, because he talks about one of the things that he does is he gets to choose his clients. I mean, I do get to choose my clients, but a lot of times once I'm in a company and I'm working on human resources with them, I get their employees and I don't get to choose their employees. And sometimes they're not some of the best people. And it's like, why are you acting the way you are? Sometimes I do get to the point where I have to terminate an employee because of a performance issue, because of a behavioral issue. But it is one of those things that I do try to understand the person. I recently went into a situation where I had to do an employee relations issue. 2 employees were arguing. And of course, when you separate them and sit them down, kind of like what they do at the police department, you say, what would give me your side of the story? And it's like, wow, were you 2 even in the same room? I didn't get anything of that from the other person. Everything you did was right and everything the other person did was wrong. And they told me just the opposite. So who's right and who's wrong? So that's some of the, I'll call it challenge, but it's also some of the fun that comes out of working in HR, of a kind of peeling back the onion and seeing what works. But as Raphael was saying, we kind of have gone through, or Givers University has created the 25 deeds or virtues. We like to call them 25 do's. And I did go through a few of them last time, but I just wanted to touch on some other ones that I think are relevant to today's topic. So the first one is, or actually it's do number 2, is to delay your gratification to increase your returns. So many times people want it now. I want it immediately. I want, as one of the things I've learned, college students today, when I ask them, okay, you're coming to work for a company right out of college, what do you expect to make, or what would you like to make? $100,000 a year. That seems fair. Okay, great. Okay, the job pays $30,000 a year. So we're obviously not even on the same page. So as far as the immediate gratification has come back to be an issue for some of the people. But in our HR practice, I work with clients all the time to help them make the decisions on employee relations issue. Listen to all sides. Ask everyone involved, including witnesses, if there are any. That's one of the things I do like to find is if I'm doing an employee relations issue is who was in the area, who heard the argument, who saw the dispute. And then again, I sometimes, they say if you get 4 people on each corner of witnessing a car accident, you'll get 4 different reasons why it happened, what happened. One of them, it wasn't so bad. One of them, it was terrible. And wow, okay, what again, did we see the same accident? So when somebody is angry or upset, the verbal discussion can go in many different directions. And some of the issues, as I have found, they will even contradict themselves. They'll start saying this, and then they'll flip it and say just the opposite. Okay, so I do like to listen to them, but I do ask them to, hey, go away and write it down. Make a written statement. It does kind of force them to clarify their position as they're writing it down, and they reread what they just wrote. They're like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not what happened. And then by the time I get the written statement back, it's completely different than the verbal discussion that I had immediately following the discussion, the altercation, the argument. So it is a beneficial way to get people to write it down. As we like to do, we like to journal, we like to write down our thoughts. I do think by getting people to, they want the HR person to, hey, here's my position, go fix it. And really what they're saying is, I'm right, the other person's wrong, go terminate them, go discipline them. And I'm like, nope, not going to do that, because I got to get their side of the story. And then I like to hear the witnesses as well. So it is a challenge to go through that. The next one I'd like to go through, I actually looked at it and I combined 2 of our do's together. Do number 3 is give first to receive later. And do number 4, I like what JM said, is vow to pay the price. So for anyone that's involved in recruiting, if you're out hiring talent for a job, I'm sure you've had a difficult time filling positions today. I'm sure you ask yourself many questions in today's world, our post-COVID world. Where is everyone? Why don't they want to work? And how are they meeting their day-to-day expenses? What happened to all the people? I know some people say they want to work remote. Some people lived off of the government handouts that came out, but eventually those came to an end. Unemployment can only take you so far, and unless you have a rich spouse or a rich family member, sometimes you're gonna need to go back to work. But I'm still surprised when I drive down the street to see how many now hiring signs are still everywhere. Whether it's a restaurant, a fast food, a business, everybody says they're hurting for talent. So that's what I was saying before, as far as the realization that when a young college student just comes out as an engineering degree, well, I spent 4 years, I should be worth $100,000, $150,000 a year. That's not what this position, especially for an entry level, because to the company, you have the engineering that the school has taught you. You don't have the talent that the company wants you to have or needs you to have to be successful in your career. So the idea of accepting a company's pay range, getting your foot in the door, paying your dues, and proving your worth, it used to be the way that I grew up to learn it. It seems to be something that I'd like to see that the younger employees get back to. The idea of unpaid internships, which back 30 years ago, I would have been thrilled to find a great company that I could have worked for as an intern for a summer, even if they didn't pay me. And now it's almost unheard of in today to not get paid for doing something. So unfortunately, they like to get first and give later. Another one of the do's, and again, I did talk about this one, but I last time I was on, but I like this one, and it kind of goes in with JM's discussion, is enjoy investing in relationships. So today, everybody is social media obsessed, and people often confuse your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, and your Twitter posts with real relationships, and they're not. In order to have a real, meaningful, and long-lasting relationship, you have to have a personal relationship with each other. You have to get together, whether that's like this and over the Zoom call, or preferably face to face. It's time, and if that's uncomfortable to you, if you're unskilled at doing that, that's something you need to work on. So how can you help yourself become more of a social person? Volunteer, go to church, join an organization in your community, get out into the public and meet people. So while companies and products today come and go faster than ever before, the only real and lasting part of our lives are the relationships that we've nurtured, that we've cherished over a long period of time. These are the people who will be there to encourage you, to support you, and they'll be there for you in good times and bad. The next one is actually a new one from the last time, is to give yourself a big, definite dream now. So what is your big, definite dream? I kind of thought about this question. I went back to when I was in my 20s, and I said, I just got into the human resources, my first position. I wanted to be a senior level HR person. I wanted to be the VP of HR, the director of HR. That was my goal. But as I started to develop my skills, I said, I started to see there are good employees and there are bad employees. There are good managers and bad managers, and there are good leaders and bad leaders. And what makes them the way they are? So when we view people, especially when I have to view employees, I have to separate the person from the deed. I have to say that's a bad person. I say what you're doing is bad, and you need to correct it, and things are correctable. I don't have to, if you change your way of doing things, if you change the deed, you can change your behavior. So it's not, I'm not labeling you as a bad person, I'm labeling what you're doing as a bad deed, and that can change. So once I started to realize, I started to gravitate toward the good leaders. And luckily, I was fortunate enough to have a good manager. This is even before my current mentor, but back when I was in my corporate HR days, I found a great manager of mine who became my mentor. I also found great coworkers who both in today's, in the case of both of them, they're still friends today. I'm still in touch with them. I still reach out to them for advice because we're in different companies, different organizations. But when I have an HR, a kind of a difficult HR issue, I know who I'm going to say, what do you think about this situation? Or what do you think of my solution? So as far as getting back to my point, as many entrepreneurs as JM and Sifu, I finally determined that I could do things better, faster, and cheaper than working for somebody else or working for a big organization. So I decided 22 years ago to start my own HR consulting practice. And today we're still here, making it over 3 years. They always say you're a successful business if you can make it past your third year. I'm in my 22nd. So I guess it's been a great ride. It's been great to learn it. So next do is decide what is your personal reason why. And I kind of liken this one to when JM was talking about, that's why I asked him about the soul, how he develops the soul. What is your personal reason why? At Givers University, one of the things that we believe in is that you can get into a good Bible-based church or Bible-based organization and keep God in first place. One of the things that I say is, if you start with God okay, God is in first place, now everything else flows from that. So we kind of have a priority list of what are your top 5 priorities. And it really only, in my opinion, or in our opinion, it only works in one order. Number 1, you've got to have what we sometimes call intelligent design, because God is different to different people, to your Hindus, to your Buddhists, to the Jews, everybody. So we call them God or intelligent design. Then number 2 is family. Number 3 is your country. Number 4 is your business. And way down at the bottom of the list at number 5 is you. You are the bottom of the list. You're not the top of the list. And that's one of the things I see when I'm doing some recruiting or some employee relations issue is I can tell that they have elevated themselves to the number 1 position. And I know that I have to work on that with the employee. So I mean, a lot of times when you're number 1, we call that a toxic employee. And that's usually not somebody that other employees like to be around. It's not somebody that managers like to have around. And it usually means they're going to lose in the long run if they don't change their behaviors. So by having a personal reason why and placing the top 5 list in the proper order, everything else kind of falls neatly into place. So Sifu, I could keep going, but I feel that I want to make sure that I give you some time too. So
Yeah, no, you know, I love everything you're talking about, and definitely the dues, you know, are very important. I like when you talked about, you know, that sometimes you have to terminate someone, but people see it as a negative, but that could be a wake-up call for them, right?
absolutely.
To me, it's you know, it's the yield in the road. You have to decide which way you want to go, right? Because you can get fired from a position and you can go, you know what? They don't know what they were talking about. I'm just going to keep going to the left and just keep doing everything that way because I'm right. Instead of reflecting and going back and, you know, maybe they had a point. Maybe I got fired because maybe I didn't show up on time enough, or I didn't do my job fully, or I wasn't doing whatever it is, whatever. But it's that reflection. I believe that it's when we change our perspective, our thinking, it's gonna help us. So sometimes people need to get fired because they will be reborn, hopefully, right? That's what we're hoping for. So
Sometimes I have been thanked and saying, hey, what you did was the right thing. I've now found a better company. I found a better fit. I've learned from what I was doing wrong. And I not necessarily agree with you, but I see how I was not effective in my old job. And now I'm with a company or I'm with a manager that I really get along with. I really click with.
Yeah, that's important. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
All right.
So what I'd like to do right now is to introduce you to our lead host, the creator of Heroes Rising. Let me tell you about Sifu Rafael Gomez. He's a one-man coaching factory. He has a solution to every problem, and he's full of life. He's hungry, he's driven, and he's bright. He's been honing his skills with a variety of multifaceted businesses, including martial arts instructor, fitness expert, business coach, and now podcast host. And he's even preparing for a new role to add to his long list of accomplishments as a leadership mentor as part of Givers University. As I said, he's hungry, driven, and bright. But to his closest friends, as with JM, a lot of people just call him Sifu. So inspiring them to be their best. One of the things I love about Sifu is he knows when to pat you on the back for a job well done. But sometimes, as I've learned in the HR world as well, he knows when to give you a kick in the ass to light a fire under you when you need it. And you probably deserve it. He matches a vibrant work ethic with an equally intense passion for helping people, not only to get better, but to be their best. He's a true friend, a consummate professional, and a talented communicator as an instructor, in his mastermind group, and as a podcast host. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Sifu Rafael Gomez.
Holy cow! Can I pay you to say that again? Wow! Thank you so much. That was
my pleasure. I mean it.
Kind of you. Thank you. You know, here's the thing that sometimes we don't know the impact that we make. Right? We don't know. We have no clue. So this is what I want to talk about now is now is the time, right? Today is the perfect time. Now is the perfect time. Change, a lot of change within ourselves comes from believing. We have to believe in ourselves. Effort is required to find your way, to move forward. You know, like when you were talking, Rick, about you had to terminate somebody, I took notes. Take a look. I was writing it down because it's that change, that sometimes that kick in the butt that's going to help us do something, make it. I call it invest the time to grow daily. Every day, you need to make time to grow. JM, I love the fact that you said your routine is very long in the morning because you are making a difference. Listen, change is not easy, but is for growth, it's mandatory, right? You have the power to remake your life every single day. You can start right now from scratch, whatever it is. You're addicted to cigarettes, you're gambling, you whatever. Anything that you want to change, you can remake your life right now. You can do it. I would suggest you take your life apart from scratch. Take it apart, but then put it back together the way you want it. Not the way other people want you to be. Do it the way that you feel in your heart. Because once you start growing, when you go through your heart, you will find what you're passionate about. I was talking to my son last night about he's got a job that he's hating. And I said to him, I said, is it worth your time? Because your time is so valuable. You don't know what can happen tomorrow. So he goes, no, Dad, I know in 6 weeks I can change this and I can do that. So he's already thinking. So that's it. When we can empower someone to think ahead, don't think for right now. Think of right now that's going to help your tomorrows. So all things are possible for those of us who believe. You have to believe. Listen, sometimes you just need to focus on one thing, right? One thing at a time will give you success. And it's time to step up to the plate. Look, if you're a batter, you step up to the plate. You get not only three pitches if they're really good and you strike out, but you can get an abundant amount of pitches if you keep even just nipping the ball, hitting it here, hitting it there, until and sometimes you will strike out, but you'll get a chance again to get to the plate. And one of those hits is going to be the right one. You will know it in your body. You will know it in your mind. You will make that connection. That hit will take you places. Might be first base, might be second, might be third, might be a home run, might even be a grand slam. But you have to step up to the plate. You got to get in the game. You can't just watch it as by a bystander. Life is a choice. How do you live it? Jan, you talked about that. The choices we make, right? What are you willing to give up to be the best life that you have? You have to give something up, right? But you don't have to give it all away, right? You have to, and we talked about it earlier, about winning. You can't win at one thing. To have a full circle, a full sphere of life, you have to win at many things, not just one. Yes, we can focus on one, but you have to live your life in abundance for yourself, your family, your soul, and those are everything. Here's my thing. Think of YOLO. You only live once. Make it amazing. YOLO. You only live once. And I'm going to add, make it amazing. Be the judge at your dinner table. What foods are you going to put in? And I tell some of my clients, what do you want to choose to go into your body? That's the question. You have to ask not only yourself, but you have to ask your body, will this food serve me? Will it serve my mind? Will it serve my body? How will I feel 20 minutes after I eat? Will I feel okay? Will I feel like, wow, I am doing this not just to fulfill my eyes, right? Because our eyes lie, don't they? And this is why, who's the best at helping us with that? Magicians, right? Magicians will always help us understand that our eyes will always lie to us. So we have to find within ourselves, what are we doing for us? So that later on we can do for someone else. I'd love to get some insight from you guys because, you know, both of you talked about so many amazing things that anyone listening can take away, can take some notes, can make a difference in their life, the way they live their life, the way they want to be remembered. So we also can talk about legacy because your actions today are going to reflect your tomorrows, right? But habits too. You know, we all wake up in the morning, hopefully we all brush our teeth, right? But that's a great habit, right? Now, some people, when they get nervous and they're writing, they chew on their pen, or they do this, or they do that. Or there's these habits that we sometimes develop without realizing until somebody says, hey, by the way, did you know you do this? And you're like, I do? Wow. So it's that concept of having a coach who sometimes, like JM, you're an amazing coach because you're able not only to see what your clients are able to miss the opportunities, right? Same thing with Rick. You guys can see from an outside. When you're in the storm, all you see is what's in front of you. You can't see what's on your sides. Peripheral vision given, yes, but past that, you can't see, right? It's all a blur sometimes. Even in front of you, in a storm, what do you see? 5 feet in front. Can you see 10 feet? Can you see 20, 30, 40? No, you can't. But having a coach, and that's why I believe in coaching so much. Would you guys mind sharing anything that I talked about? Because I believe that you guys are in agreement with what I'm saying, because I'm only repeating what you basically just said, right? Go for it.
JM.
Well, I think one of the things you said that I think is just so true is living intentionally, right? And Rick talked about your why, your purpose, being clear on that, because 90% of us are run by habits. Some are good, some not so good. So when you get real intentional on why I'm doing whatever. So for instance, after I'm done here, I'm going to go spend time with my son. Why? Because I want to deepen that relationship. I want to spend as much time as humanly possible helping him be a better human being and being someone that gives back to this world. That's my intention. It's not to be on my cell phone and worried about my next meeting and this. It's actually being very, very present in that moment and not worried about what's going to happen or what has already happened. And my saying to that, Sifu, that I would share is past is pain, future is anxiety, present is everything. Now, Lao Tzu said it in a longer format. I just shortened it because for me, I think of it that way as, look, if I create an amazing right now, and I continue to do that, and I continue to do that, I'm creating an amazing future. So I don't need to worry about what's going to happen. I also don't need to worry about what happened before. I can't change that. So I guess, brother, to what you said, and I know we're coming up on time, so I'll finish up. Live intentionally, know exactly why you're doing what. And if you don't know, and it's not a heck yeah, I should be doing this, then it's a heck no. Don't be clear on why you're doing things. Don't just do it because everyone else is, or that's what you've always done. Question it, and then make sure that if it's something that you should be doing intentionally, give it your very best. So that would be what I would add on to that.
You want me to wrap up?
I had
You want me
a,
to,
go,
you want
go,
me to
go
take it
for it.
away?
Go
Okay.
ahead, Rick. Go
I
ahead.
like what JM said, and from an HR world, we like to call it work-life balance. And that is where we say, hey, okay, you're working 60, 70 hours a week. What are you doing at home? Or as JM like to say, even if you don't think you're making a choice, you're making a choice. You're choosing not to be with your family, not to be with your kids. So you're going to miss another baseball game or another soccer match because you're working constantly. I think that's one of the things that COVID did show us is people do like to work from home. Now, again, from an HR perspective, I've seen the good and the bad side of working from home. Sometimes people are not working while they're working from home, and some people are very productive. And I've heard some employees say, boy, I used to work 50 hours a week when I had to make that hour a day commute. Now I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm putting in more time. I think I need to go back to the office to take some time off. So people do, I mean, and those are the people that I know are committed to their work and are doing the right things. They're not home because they want to avoid work or not really work. They like to take care of their kids and play with their dog and go for walks and take a nap in the middle of the day. So I do like what JM said is when you're even if you think you're not making a choice, you still have made a choice. So
Yeah.
Sifu, I will let you wrap up.
Oh, thank you, buddy. You know, JM, I'm looking at these beautiful books behind you.
And that
Because you're
beautiful
an
blue
author.
light. I'll have to see how you got that blue light.
Yeah, but he's an author too. So, you know, what's missing in my library? Your book.
Not there?
I'm gonna send you some money so you can sign
He's
one
asking for
me.
something.
I'm gonna send you some money so you can send me one, but sign it, okay?
Don't send me any money, brother. Just send me your address. I'll get it off to you immediately.
I appreciate that. Listen, one of the things that, you know, I created this Heroes Rising because I know so many coaches who are the real deal, who deliver, who are there to help people. Man, both of you are so genuine, so willing to give, so willing to make a difference in everybody's world. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I had a blast. JM, I'm still sending you love, my brother. Yeah. And you know, it's something that you're going through. And like I said, reach out anytime. You have my cell number. Anytime, I'll be there for you. I want to tell you guys about June 10th is our next one. We're going to have EAs coming back.
Oh, thank goodness.
You did an amazing job. We're going to have Dr. Kelsey Asplin, and she's going to talk to us. She says she has so many topics that she does, but she's going to talk about changing the model of healthcare, because I think in the United States and the way healthcare is coming about, it's just not right. And a lot of people are not getting the treatment they are. And a lot of doctors are not holistic enough. I believe they don't think about the foods we eat and all these things. But that's a topic for June 10th. I hope you guys will join us on June 10th. Any last words, guys, really quick? We'll wrap up.
Just thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and I hope your audience got some value from it, but I certainly did. And Rick, it was awesome listening to you, and it was great. So thank you.
JM, it was also great to meet you, to listen to you, and Sifu, thank you again for the opportunity.
All right, everybody, have a blessed day. And as EA would say, go for it, Rick.
Have your best day ever.